All right, so today we're diving deep, and we're heading to Venice.
Ooh, Venice.
But not just for a gondola ride and some gelato.
No, we're going deeper.
We're going to uncover the secrets of St. Mark's Square and the Doge's Palace.
Two of the most iconic landmarks in the world.
Exactly. I mean, you've probably seen pictures, right? Maybe you've even been lucky enough to visit.
Oh, I've been. It's magical.
Oh, yeah, it's breathtaking.
Mm.
But there are layers to these places, layers that most people never even get to see.
That's right. There's so much more than meets the eye.
And that's what we're here to uncover.
We're going to peel back those layers and reveal the stories behind the stones, the whispers of history that still echo in these places.
Exactly. I was reading about the square's origins, and, it just blew my mind.
What was it?
Well, this grand plaza that we see today, with the pigeons and the cafes.
It's the heart of Venice.
It actually started as a marshy area, almost like a mudflat. Can you believe that?
Oh, absolutely. Venice is a city built on water, or really on a lagoon. It's incredible they built anything there, let alone something so magnificent.
Seriously? How did they even build on that? It seems impossible.
It's a testament to Venetian ingenuity and ambition.
So it wasn't the easiest choice, building there?
Not at all. But it was strategic.
Oh, I see.
Venice was a maritime power. Their wealth came from trade, so access to the sea was crucial.
It was their lifeline.
Exactly. They literally built their city, their identity, out of what most would consider a swamp.
That's incredible. Talk about making the most of what you have, huh?
They had vision, that's for sure.
So practicality, yes, but also this incredible ambition.
Always reaching for more.
And you see that ambition reflected in how the square evolved, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Like that distinctive herringbone pattern of the
Oh,
brick.
yeah. It's beautiful, but
Yeah.
also functional.
Right.
Really stable on that shifting, marshy ground.
Uh-huh. So form and function.
Exactly. And the way the square expanded over the centuries.
Each expansion marking a new chapter.
Exactly. Venice growing more powerful, more dominant, and their main public space reflecting that.
Like, look at us. Look how much we've achieved.
Exactly. Projecting power and wealth.
And it worked.
Yeah.
St. Mark's Square is one of the most famous squares in the world.
It's iconic.
And speaking of iconic, we can't forget the crown jewel of the square, St. Mark's Basilica.
Ah, the Basilica. A masterpiece.
The domes, the mosaics, all that shimmering marble just takes your breath away.
It was designed to do exactly that.
I mean, it's so different from anything else in Europe at that time.
Well, that's because it's heavily influenced by Byzantine architecture.
With those incredible domes and the gold mosaics.
Precisely. And this wasn't a random choice.
Oh.
Venice had strong ties to the East through trade and diplomacy. They chose this style, this Byzantine style, to showcase their unique position, their wealth, and their connections.
A statement piece for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, we're Venice and we're connected to the world.
Exactly.
And speaking of showcasing wealth, we have to talk about those famous horses of St. Mark.
Ah, yes, the horses. A tale of intrigue and shifting power.
Seriously, stolen from Constantinople, then snatched by Napoleon, eventually returned to Venice. It sounds like an adventure novel.
They were highly sought-after trophies, symbols of dominance and power.
So each time they were taken, it was a statement.
Absolutely. Possessing them was a way to legitimize your power.
And of course, they eventually ended up back in Venice.
Where they belong. And speaking of treasures, let's not forget the Pala d'Oro.
Well, what now?
The Pala d'Oro, the golden altarpiece inside the basilica.
Oh, I've seen pictures. It's dazzling. Covered in jewels.
Exactly. But even its history is shrouded in mystery.
Oh.
Tell me more. There was a suspected theft, but it was never fully solved.
Wow. Now I'm imagining Venetian detectives in long cloaks scouring the city for these missing jewels.
It's a story that's captured imaginations for centuries.
Okay, back to the square itself. We can't miss that imposing structure that dominates the skyline. The Campanile.
The Campanile, the landlord of the square.
I love that nickname. Perron de Casa.
It shows how much the Campanile is woven into the fabric of Venetian life.
It served as both a lighthouse and a watchtower. Right. Talking about multitasking.
They needed to keep an eye on things, both on land and at sea.
But what really fascinates me is the story of its collapse in 1902.
The whole thing just came crashing down.
Yep, crumbled into a pile of bricks.
Wow, that must have been a shock.
And yet they rebuilt it, almost exactly as it was.
It's an incredible dedication to preserving their history and identity.
Like saying, we may fall, but we'll always rise again, stronger than before.
Exactly. A symbol of Venetian resilience.
And while we're talking about details, have you ever really stopped to examine the astronomical clock?
Oh, that clock is fascinating. It's a marvel of engineering and artistry.
It doesn't just tell time, does it?
Oh no, it's much more than that. It tracks the phases of the moon, the position of the sun, even the signs of the zodiac.
It's like a miniature universe right there on the wall.
And it's been ticking away for centuries.
It's almost overwhelming to think about all the information it's conveying.
But I think that's part of the point. Everything in St. Mark's Square seems designed to impress.
To make you feel the power and knowledge of Venice.
Exactly. To remind you that you're in a truly exceptional place.
A place unlike any other.
And that feeling intensifies when we shift our focus to the Doge's palace.
Yes, the Doge's palace. Beautiful, but also a little bit intimidating.
It's the heart of Venetian government.
Their court system, their seat of power.
And their prisons, too.
Whoa, so not all sunshine and roses then.
Not exactly. There's a darker side to the story.
You have the Doge, the ruler of Venice, working there, but also these prisons hidden within those walls.
It's a reminder that power often has a dark side.
A fascinating juxtaposition.
And the architecture itself reflects that duality.
It's a blend of Gothic, Byzantine, and Renaissance styles.
A reflection of Venice's evolution, absorbing influences, creating something uniquely its own.
Speaking of unique, there's one detail I can't get over. The Bocca di Leone.
The lion's mouths.
Yeah, where citizens could drop anonymous accusations. Can you imagine?
A glimpse into the Venetian system of control.
A little bit creepy, if you ask me.
Well, they were obsessed with maintaining order. But it also created an atmosphere of suspicion, maybe even fear.
So you never knew who was watching or who might be whispering secrets about you.
Exactly. And don't forget the Libro d'Oro.
The Golden Book, what's that?
It listed all the noble families, the elite, who were eligible to hold power.
Uh-huh. So a very defined hierarchy.
Very much so. Venice was a republic, but a very controlled one.
So this tension between beauty and power, openness and control, it's everywhere.
It's woven into the very fabric of the city.
And nowhere is it more evident than with the Bridge of Sighs.
Ah, the Bridge of Sighs. So romantic, right?
Yeah, everyone has that iconic image in their head. Prisoners getting their last glimpse of freedom, sighing as they cross the bridge.
But the reality was much harsher.
Oh.
Those sighs were probably more about the grim conditions they were facing in the prisons connected to the palace.
Right, it wasn't exactly a luxury hotel.
Not at all. Sanitation was poor, disease was rampant, and punishments were often brutal.
So we're peeling back the layers of history, revealing the truth behind that romanticized facade.
Exactly. It's about looking beyond the surface, uncovering the hidden stories that make these places so fascinating.
And that brings us to those hidden stories, the things you wouldn't find in your typical travel guide.
The whispers of the past.
Like, for instance, did you know that Venice held a monopoly on salt?
Ah, yes, the salt secret of Venice.
I had no idea salt was so important back then.
Oh, it was essential. Think about it. Preserving food, flavoring, even medicinal uses.
And Venice controlled it all.
They did. It was a major source of their wealth and influence.
Wow, so a pinch of salt could really change the course of history.
It certainly could, and we'll delve deeper into that fascinating story after the break.
Sounds good. We'll be right back with more from Venice and the secrets of St. Mark's Square and the Doge's Palace.
It really highlights how interconnected everything was back then. And speaking of connections, we can't forget the carnival processions that once transformed St. Mark's Square
Oh yes, carnival.
into a spectacle of color and celebration.
The masks, the costumes, the music.
It was a time for Venetians to let loose, to embrace fantasy and satire.
And I bet there's some good food involved too, right?
Oh, absolutely. Feasting was a big part of Carnival.
So even with all the control and hierarchy we've talked about, there was still this outlet for expression, for challenging the status quo.
Exactly. It adds another layer to our understanding of Venetian society. It wasn't just about power and wealth.
Right.
It was also about spectacle, release, and allowing people to question and critique.
Even if it was just for a short time during Carnival.
Precisely. Behind those masks, they could say and do things they wouldn't normally dare.
A little bit of controlled chaos, maybe?
Perhaps. But it was a vital part of their culture.
It's fascinating to think how those traditions, those echoes of the past, still resonate in Venice today.
They do. While the bustling markets that once filled St. Mark's Square are long gone.
Oh, there used to be markets right in the square.
Oh, yes. All sorts of goods were traded there. Spices, silks, even exotic animals.
Wow, I can just imagine the sights and sounds.
It must have been quite a spectacle. But you can still find hints of that energy
Where?
in the smaller squares and alleyways throughout the city.
Oh, I see what you mean. You can still feel the hustle and bustle.
Exactly. That sense of trade, of exchange, is still very much alive.
And what about that prisoner graffiti you mentioned?
Yes. A poignant reminder that not everyone in Venice was living a life of luxury and power.
Right. So what stories do those etchings tell?
They offer a glimpse into the lives of those who were punished, silenced, forgotten.
Scratched onto the walls of their cells.
Imagine those messages of hope, despair, or defiance, knowing that few would ever see them.
It's like their voices are reaching across time, urging us to remember them.
And their stories are just as important as the tales of doges and conquerors.
It's about recognizing the humanity that exists alongside these historical monuments.
Exactly. It's about seeing the whole picture, the good and the bad.
So when we walk through St. Mark's Square or the Doge's Palace, we're not just tourists observing the past.
No, we're engaging in a dialogue.
A dialogue that spans centuries.
Connecting us to the lives and experiences of those who came before us.
And that's the beauty of travel and exploration.
It's not just about seeing new places.
It's about expanding our understanding of the world and our place within it.
And realizing that we're all connected across time and space.
We've certainly covered a lot of ground today.
We have, from muddy beginnings to stolen horses, secret salt stashes to prisoner graffiti.
What are some of the key takeaways we should keep in mind?
I think the biggest takeaway is that nothing is ever as simple as it seems.
Right. There's always more to the story.
Behind the beauty of St. Mark's Square and the Doge's Palace, there's a complex history.
Of ambition, power, and control, but also resilience, artistry, and even rebellion.
Exactly. It's a tapestry of human experience woven together over centuries.
And it's still unfolding today.
Venice is a city built on water, constantly shifting, evolving, adapting, just like the tides that flow through its canals.
Its history is a constant interplay of forces, both visible and hidden.
And it's up to us to keep exploring those layers, to keep uncovering the hidden stories.
So even with all this knowledge, there's still a sense of mystery and wonder that draws us to Venice.
Absolutely. It's a city that never ceases to amaze and inspire.
And speaking of uncovering stories, we can't leave out one of the most famous tales associated with the Doge's Palace, the daring escape of Giacomo Casanova.
Casanova, a legend.
It's a story that really captures the imagination.
Picture this, Casanova, notorious lover and gambler,
Quite a character.
imprisoned in the infamous Piombi cells located right under the palace roof.
And these cells were designed to be unbearable, right?
Oh, absolutely. Scorching hot in the summer, freezing cold in the winter.
Intentional, of course.
To break even the strongest spirits. But Casanova was not easily broken.
So how did he manage to escape? It seems impossible.
It involved a bribed guard, a daring climb through the roof,
Sounds risky.
and a gondola waiting in the canals below.
Like something out of a movie.
It's a tale of cunning, luck, and perhaps a dash of that Venetian flair for the dramatic.
It really brings history to life.
Suddenly, you're not just looking at a building.
You're imagining the people who lived, worked, and even escaped from within those walls.
And it reminds us that even the most formidable systems of control can have their weaknesses.
Human ingenuity and the desire for freedom.
They can find a way, even in the most unlikely circumstances.
So there's always hope, even in the face of seemingly insurmountable obstacles.
Exactly. And speaking of overcoming obstacles, let's talk about something you won't find on any typical tourist map. The salt secret of Venice.
We talked about how important salt was.
Yes, but how did they manage to maintain this monopoly for so long?
That's what I'm curious about.
Well, Venice had a few things working in its favor.
Like what?
Firstly, its location in the lagoon.
Right, surrounded by salt water.
Perfect conditions for salt production. They developed sophisticated techniques for harvesting salt.
From those shallow, salty waters.
Exactly. And secondly, they established a powerful trading network.
Using their fleet to transport and distribute the salt.
Throughout Europe and beyond, they controlled the entire supply chain.
Smart move. So it wasn't just about producing salt, it was about controlling the market.
Precisely. And this control brought them immense wealth and influence.
They even had special warehouses near St. Mark's Square, didn't they?
They did,
Oh.
to store and protect this precious commodity.
Highlighting its importance to their economy and power.
It was like their liquid gold.
Now I'm picturing secret salt heists in rival cities trying to break the Venetian monopoly.
Oh, there were definitely attempts to challenge their dominance.
But Venice wasn't going to give up its cash cow that easily.
Not at all. They were fierce in protecting their interests. They used their political savvy, their naval power.
To maintain their grip on the salt trade.
It's a testament to their strategic thinking and ability to adapt to changing circumstances.
It's incredible how something as seemingly mundane as salt played such a pivotal role in shaping Venice's destiny.
It's a reminder that even the smallest details can have profound implications. And that's what makes history so captivating.
Full of surprises, connections, and unexpected twists and turns.
Exactly. It's a never-ending journey of discovery.
And those surprises often lead us to a deeper understanding.
Not just of the past, but also the present.
It makes you wonder how we should view these places today, knowing what we do about Venetian power and control.
It's not about judging the past, but rather understanding the complexities and nuances that shaped Venice and its people.
We've been given this privileged glimpse behind the curtain.
And now we have a responsibility to engage with that knowledge thoughtfully.
To bring that deeper understanding into our own experience of the world.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe it will inspire you to uncover the hidden stories of other places you visit.
To look beyond the tourist attractions and connect with the soul of a place.
So, to our listener, as we wrap up our deep dive into St. Mark's Square and the Doge's Palace,
we leave you with this challenge. The next time you encounter a famous landmark,
or even a seemingly ordinary street corner,
take a moment to wonder about the stories hidden beneath the surface.
what forces shaped this place, whose voices are echoing through time?
And most importantly, how can we, as travelers and as citizens of the world,
Contribute to a more nuanced and compassionate understanding of the places we visit?
and the people who inhabit them? We'd love to hear your thoughts and your own deep dives into the places that intrigue you.
Share your discoveries, your questions.
And let's continue this conversation together.
Until next time,
Keep exploring
keep learning.
and keep diving deep. It makes you wonder how we should view these places today, with all this knowledge about Venetian power and control.
Yeah, it's a good question. Are we simply admiring beautiful facades, or are we acknowledging a history
Yeah,
built on ambition, trade, and maybe even exploitation?
it's complicated, right?
It is. It's not about judging the past. Right?
Through a modern lens,
Mhm.
but rather understanding the complexities and nuances that
Yeah.
shaped Venice and its people.
It's like we've been given this privileged glimpse behind the curtain,
We have.
and now we have a responsibility to engage with that knowledge thoughtfully.
Absolutely. And that engagement can take many forms.
Like what?
It could be researching further, reading more about Venetian history and culture, or even just looking at those photos from your trip with a fresh perspective.
So bringing that deeper understanding into our own experience of the world.
Precisely. And who knows? Maybe it will inspire you to uncover the hidden stories of other places you visit,
Yeah, to go beyond those tourist attractions.
to look beyond the surface and connect with the soul of a place.
So to our listeners, as we wrap up our deep dive into St. Mark's Square and the Doge's Palace,
We leave you with this challenge:
the next time you encounter a famous landmark,
a beautiful building, or even just a seemingly ordinary street corner.
take a moment to wonder about the stories hidden beneath the surface. What forces shaped this place? Whose voices are echoing through time?
And most importantly, how can we as travelers and as citizens of the world,
Contribute to a more nuanced and compassionate understanding,
of the places we visit?
and the people who inhabit them.
We'd love to hear your thoughts and your own deep dives into the places that intrigue you.
Share your discoveries, your questions.
And let's continue this conversation together.
Until next time,
Keep exploring
keep learning.
and keep diving deep.